The lifespan of a good human being is around 70 years, barring some unfortunate events. Add to that the physical and mental challenges that every human being has experienced and will experience, and life can become very difficult and complex. Beyond all this, let us ask the question, what kind of life should be lived? To answer, let's go back 2300 years to ancient Greece, and one day a rich merchant named Zenon of Cyprus was traveling on his ship. But that day the sea was not calm at all, and eventually Zenon's ship sank, destroying this rich merchant's goods and burying him in the depths of the sea. This philosophy was not limited to ancient Greece, it spread to ancient Rome, and philosophers showed great interest in it, such as Seneca and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. In this video, I will talk about the philosophy of Stoicism and the ideas of philosophers who can be considered representatives of this philosophy. The most basic principle of Stoicism is that man should live in accordance with nature. They choose this statement as the starting point of the philosophy. They think of nature not only as wild or human nature, but as a universal cosmic nature. Its proponents have a pantheistic conception of God, i.e., they believe that God is present everywhere in nature. Therefore, they arrive at the fact that nature has a supreme value. The basic principle of Stoicism is to live in accordance with nature, and let's take this as a starting point and move on. When we think of man's place in nature, we realize that he is different and special from other creatures, that he has reason. Stoicism suggests that the use of reason is something that nature expects of us. It argues that living in accordance with nature will bring with it living in accordance with reason, and puts the goal of a life in accordance with virtue at the center, defining virtue as wisdom, temperance, honesty, and courage. Stoicism sees the person who provides these elements as a virtuous person. Philosophy proceeds from nature to reason, and from there to a life in accordance with virtue. Let us examine Stoicism to define virtue correctly. Stoicism defines virtue as the only good concept and characterizes other concepts with indifference. Concepts such as wealth, power, fatness, fame are excluded from virtue and vice. This classification shows that the Stoics focused on the concept of indifference. The attitude of this philosophy towards negative emotions is aimed at preventing negative emotions from taking over the mind. Stoics focus on preventing negative emotions from shutting down the mind and emphasize maintaining emotional balance in order to live rationally. Having examined the relationship between the concepts of control and emotion, let's look at situations where control can be lost. Stoicism deals with situations where control is out of hand and teaches people to distinguish between what they can and cannot control. Stoics advise not to worry about what cannot be controlled and to focus on what can be controlled. This is a fundamental principle of Stoicism and is known as the dilemma of control. After water suffering and the dilemma of control, we looked at logotherapy. Logotherapy focuses on the search for meaning and encourages people to find values that give meaning to their lives. Frankl's experience in a concentration camp shows that the search for meaning can increase people's resilience. Finally, we examined the implications of Stoicism for rational emotive behavioral therapy, which helps people cope with emotional problems by identifying and changing irrational beliefs. Stoicism had a great influence on Albert Ellis's development of this therapy. Also, the fact that logotherapy was developed by Viktor Frankl shows the influence of Stoicism on the search for meaning. Stoicism offers important guidance on what people can and cannot control and how they can direct their search for meaning.